Good morning, dear children. Hope you all are fit and fine. Yes. Children, yesterday we studied the third section of the chapter, okay? The rise of nationalism in Europe, and we found what role did the revolutionaries play during a span of few years, right? From 18 years to be very precise. Though we cannot really fix up that era for only 15 years or 18 years, basically it was the French Revolution and the removal, the fleeing of the monarch, the French monarch, really motivated the people all over Europe to see and to fight for, to struggle for their independence. And in that role, yesterday we studied about the age of revolutions, and in that we found out that the period between 1830 to 1848 saw very prominent changes, right? We found that the conservatives on one hand, they were trying to bring Europe under their control, while the national liberals played a very important role. The revolutionaries played a very important role in bringing the nationalist feeling. So to strengthen this feeling of nationalism, yesterday we found that there was a concept of romantic imagination. Okay, romantic imagination means the role played by culture, which covers up a very big sphere of right from the books to the streets. The poet, the authors, the writers, the philosophers, the thinkers, the common man, okay, through different media, through different sources, through poetry, through literature, through drawing, through painting, through art, architecture, opera, they were trying to show their build up the feeling of awakening within the mindsets of the people, okay, during this period, so as to make them think for their nation, fight for their national independence. Okay, so we found that in this field, in this span, during that time, not only the rich, the aristocrats, the conservatives, but along with that, the conservatives as well as the new middle class, even the poor man also tried to project out its or give out its participation during the nation's struggle. Okay, and that's why the the age of revolutionaries from 1830 to 1848 plays a very important role in the European history. And during that period, we found that even the passive citizen, the women, as well as the poor people in Europe, those who were not given the suffrage rights, the voting rights, even they were trying their level best to somehow instill the feeling of nationalism within themselves and fight for their independence. Right. So this was the subject matter we found yesterday. Today, we are going precisely to Italy and Germany to find out how what were the situations during that period and after 1848 over there. Today we are going to study in detail section number 4, the making of Germany and Italy. I want you to open up your book at page number 19, section 4, chapter number 1. Okay, making of Germany and Italy. Section number 4.1, see, the very topic in itself is giving you some clues. What could be the media, what could be the mode through which people strive to attain independence or fought for their nation or participated in the nation's struggle? Can army be the architect of a nation? Architect, the designer? So is the nation's destination to be designed only by the army or does the common man also play or the other aspects that we found in the society, in the economy, the politics, also plays an important part? What is the role there? We found in the previous section itself, in the section the age of revolutionaries, section 3 only gave us a clue that the common man also did a lot to bring up a change in Europe. Now let us find out what happened precisely in Germany. Let's start with this section. After 1848, nationalism in Europe, it moved away from its association with democracy and nationalism or revolution. Okay, so the matter moved away from revolution and democracy only because during that period the conservatives were trying their level best to retain their power and to bring unification. Okay, so nationalist sentiments were often mobilized by the conservatives during that period for promoting the state power and achieving political domination over Europe. The initiative that was taken by the middle class German towards the nation building was often repressed by combined forces. So, when the liberal nationalists, on one hand, were trying to struggle for the independence through their revolutionary ways, okay, for the unification of different parts of Europe into one nation, that one nation theory was under the process of being built. So when the liberal nationalists were trying to do their part, play their role over there, in the meantime, there was yet another group. Okay, the conservatives. The conservatives, they were trying their level best. The different combined forces of not only the conservative, the monarchies, or and along with that, the military as well as the large landowners of Prussia, they all fall into the, means not all, except for the military, the monarchy, large. They are all these leaders, the conservative mentality people. They were trying to repress the growing agitation, the growing, you may say, the massive nationalist feeling that was going on, the anger that was there, the struggle feeling, the fight feeling that was there in the national liberalist mind, that was being repressed by these monarchies, military, as well as the conservative group, the large landowners of Prussia. Now, Prussia took leadership of the national unification. And in Germany, we found their chief minister, Otto von Bismarck, plays a very prominent role. He was the architect in this process. 3 wars over 7 years with Austria, Denmark, and France. It ended in the Prussian victory, completing the process of German unification. So, this very explanation gives you an idea that who was basically responsible for the unification process. The conservatives were playing a very prominent role. Otto von Bismarck was considered to be the architect. On 18th January 1871, after the unification, an assembly was held comprising of the princes of the German states, the conservative, the representatives, okay, comprising of the princes of German states, the representatives of the army, because these were all the people, those who had played a prominent, supported Otto von Bismarck in his job of unification of Germany. So, an assembly comprising of representatives of these from this category, the princes of the German states, the representatives of the army, the Prussian ministers, including Otto von Bismarck, they gathered in the palace of Versailles to proclaim the new German Empire, okay, headed by Kaiser William I of Prussia, the Prussian Emperor Kaiser. Kaiser is the term which is used to denote the kings, the ruler. Okay, just like in Russia it is Tsar, in France it was a feudal lord monarch. Similarly, in India we call king. Similarly, in Prussia, they call castle. So Castle William I was considered made the new ruler, the new king, headed by him, Castle William of Prussia. And then they started, once Germany was unified, then started the process of modernizing, shaping the social structure, economic structure of Germany. And in that process, there was a lot that was done. Began modernizing the currency. We remember that in different parts there were different units of measurement, there were different currency that was followed there. So they started modernizing the currency, unifying that also, because that was also necessary for the development of the nation. Then banking, legal as well as the judicial systems were also remodified in Germany. Thus, making these measures and practices a model for the rest of Europe, the rest of Germany, and then later Europe. So we saw that how the conservatives prominently played a very important role in the unification of Germany. And what role does Ottoman Bismarck, who's considered to be the architect of the German unification, what role he plays, and what do we mean by Kaiser? Okay, these are certain terms which you are coming to know now, so it was my duty to make it clear to you. Then comes the Italian unification. I'm giving you the nutshell of this section to make the matter very easy. Now turn to the next page, page number 20. We will be reading the unification of Italy. Italy too had a very long history of political fragmentation. To be very precise, before the unification of Italy, it was a combination of 7 different states, and only one out of it, the place named Sardinia Piedmont, was ruled by an Italian princely house. The rest of Italy was into the hands of different empire. The northern part of Italy was in the hands of the Austrian Empire. The southern part was in the hands of the Bourbon rulers of Spain. Central Italy was in the hands of the Pope. It was only Sardinia Piedmont that was in the hands of an Italian princely house. Now, unification of such a place, it was not an easy task. Italians were scattered over several dynastic states as well as multinational Habsburg Empire. Italy was divided into 7 states, and only one, Sardinia Piedmont, was ruled by an Italian princely house. The north of Italy was under the Austrian Habsburgs, the center was ruled by the Pope, and south of Italy was in the hands of the Bourbon kings of Spain. Now, during 1830s, we had already studied in the age of revolutions. I precisely elaborated on this part. We found the role played by Giuseppe Mazzini to bring up that revolutionary principle. Okay, we found now 1830s. What did he do? He formed the secret societies, the Young Italy, okay, in Marshallese and in Bern. So let us review it once again. During 1830s, Giuseppe Mazzini sought to put together a unitary Italian republic. So, with this objective, he formed a secret society called Young Italy for the dissemination of his goal to practically work out in the fulfillment of his goal. But we found that the uprisings, the revolutionary uprisings, were suppressed, okay, by the king there, Victor Emmanuel II. So, with the failure of these revolutionary uprisings of 1831, the uprisings, the revolutionaries, they were uprisings by them, they were revolts by them, but the king did not. We remember that they framed a constitution and they fought just when they showed it to the king did not approve of it. On the contrary, he took help of the military to suppress the revolutionary feelings in Germany. So let us see how it worked. So, with the failure of the revolutionary uprisings, okay, revolutionary uprisings of 1831 and 1848, Victor Emmanuel II, the king there, took charge of unifying the Italian states through war. So, when the revolutionary uprisings did not work, then Victor Emmanuel II took charge of unifying different parts of the seven states of Italy through war, fight. So, through tactful diplomatic alliance with France, he took help of Victor Emmanuel II. He took help of the chief minister Cavour. So, in your NCRT book, you see that when you prepare a short note, you get a short note on the chief minister Cavour. So, from this section, you will get the reference of the contributions of Cavour. Okay, so he was the one who helped King Victor William II, Emmanuel II, in his tactful plans of fighting against the neighboring or fighting against the fighting wars so as to unify Italy. So through tactful diplomatic alliance with France, it was this entire plan was engineered by Chief Minister Cavour. Piedmont succeeded in defeating. So, this plan that they made with the help of the Chief Minister Cavour, Sardinia Piedmont succeeded in defeating. So, it was a defeat of the ruler there. Okay. So, he succeeded in defeating the Austrian forces in 1859. Then, in 1860, the armed forces under the leadership of Giuseppe Garibaldi. We remember Giuseppe Mazzini. He was for Germany, right? Now, so German unification. Here it is, Mazzini, the Italian unification. Let us see how it worked. So Giuseppe Garibaldi, he marched to southern Italy. He was a very prominent, he played a very prominent role in unification of, or he fighting war or helping the rulers in occupying southern Italy. So the armed volunteers under the leadership of Giuseppe Garibaldi marched into South Italy and the kingdom of Two Sicilies, and there they succeeded in driving out the Spanish rulers. We found now that the south of Italy was under the hands of the Bourbon rulers, the Spanish rulers. So Garibaldi played a very important role in freeing South Italy, okay, from these Bourbon rulers. Thus, what happened in the central part? Seeing that there was a constant victory of the king's power was proving in different parts, northern Italy, southern Italy, the central Italy, which was in the hands of the Pope, it was given over to Emmanuel, the king, Victor Emmanuel II. And thus, in 1861, Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed the King of United Italy. So you understood that Italian unification was to a certain extent, 80% extent with through war, and 20% was through mutual understanding and acceptance. Okay, Central Italy was the only way wherein unification was, or the charge was given by the Pope. So, thus we complete the unification process of Italy and Germany. Now, let us see the third section, 4.3, the strange case of Britain. Why is the situation in Britain called a strange case? Now, here, the way the fight, or the way the unification of these two places that we have discussed till now, Italy and Germany, you will be finding that in Britain the situation was a little different. In what way different? Let us try to find out. There was no British nation before the 18th century. The Britishers during that period, before the means during the 18th century or before the 18th century, it was a combination of different islands, and it was ruled by different rulers. Okay, each was governed by their own rulers, their own policies. So the situation in Britain was entirely different. So there was no British nation before the 18th century. The ethnic groups, the British was inhabited by the ethnic groups, and these ethnic groups were the English, the Welsh, the Scot, and the Irish people. Each had their own cultural and traditional practices, political traditions as well. As the English with time, because the English traders, they had been moving throughout the world in search of power, money, and we know that they had a imperial control. The English had an imperial control over many other parts of the world. When we study about our own nation, I will elaborate on this section once again. Okay, so the English with time, through trade and commerce, okay, they slowly started gaining popularity, wealth, power. So with wealth comes power. So as the English grew in wealth, importance, and power, it started extending its influence over the other nations of the island, the Scot, the Welsh, okay, as well as the Irish. So that is how the entire concept of building up one nation comes through the mindset of the English people, okay, the ethnic group. The English Parliament was seized, the power was taken away from the monarchy, the ruler there, in 1688, and it forged to be a nation state, okay, with England as its center. So the first thing that starts in Britain was the unification or the power of the English that resulted in the formation of a the first step towards building up a nation state in that part. Okay, and they considered England as their center. So then again, let us see what happens then. What about the other ethnic groups, or what about the influence of the English over the other ethnic groups inhabiting there? An Act of Union was passed in 1707 between Scotland and England, and this resulted in the formation of United Kingdom of Great Britain. English, as I said, they were powerful, and the Scottish people, The Scotland rulers had to give up their power authority over the to the English people, and thus it resulted in the formation of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Later, Scotland's distinctive culture and the political institution were also systematically suppressed under the dominance of the British identity. Thus, Scotland and this place, okay, Great Britain, these are all coming under the British dominance. Now let us move to the third ethnic group, Ireland. Ireland, it was a country deeply divided between two ethnic or religious sentiments or the religious groups. One were the Catholics and the other were the Protestants. The Catholics were in majority, but the English supported the Protestants. And with a powerful support of the means with the support of a powerful group like the English, the Protestants really proved successful. The English helped the Protestants of Ireland to establish their dominance over a largely Catholic country. The Catholics revolted, but their revolts were all suppressed. Then in uh, 1801, an act was signed. 1801, an act was signed between Ireland and England, which led to the incorporation of Ireland as along also in the United Kingdom, thus forging a new British nation there. Once this unification was done, you saw that here it is the dominance of one ethnic group which superpowers the other ethnic groups, and there was no war. Okay, it is only through the power of domination that the English ethnic group proved its control over the other ethnic groups living in the British Isle, and thus it led to the formation of a new nation, the Great Britain. Okay, so we are seeing it how the situation in Britain was entirely different from the other nations that we have or the other places that we have seen till now. In Germany also, it was revolutionary prominence and the fight between the revolutionary and the conservatives that gifted the German unification. In Italy also, you saw that the different parts, it was a combination of war 80% and 20% mutual understanding and subjugation that resulted in unification of Italy. In Great Britain, the third case that we studied today, we found that it was the dominance of one ethnic group, its power, its rule, its influence that gave birth to a new British nation, the formation of Great Britain, the United Kingdoms. Once this unification process was done, now the mammoth task was how to make the people feel for the nation. Because when the citizens living in a nation all think unitedly, all act unitedly, all dream unitedly, then only you can strengthen the nation. So thus started the duty of strengthening the nation, visualizing how the nation should be. Okay. So there were different symbols that were really, let us, if we even talk of Britain also, you will be finding that once it was unified, different parts of Britain were unified, then people started, the rulers, they started thinking of unification means giving shape to this unification, giving strength to this unification. And for that, what did they do? They started incorporating different symbols. Okay, so the symbols of New Britain, the British flag, the national anthem, and the English language was actively promoted, and the other ethnic culture was slowly suppressed. And that is how we see that the entire situation in Britain was in the hands of the English control. So, thus came in shape the Britain's unification process. So, I hope you understood. As you get the notes for today, please go through it. Go through the chapter, that portion, section number 4 today, and tally it with my notes and try to find out whether you could afford to. Now, because this is not there in your, means towards the end of the chapter, only one more day we need to concentrate on. Maybe next week, Wednesday, we will finish off the chapter, and then I will forward you the assignment questions as well. I hope you are understanding. Yes. Have a nice day for today.